I'm typically not one for drama, especially drama for drama's sake. Nothing against people who are, who find that entertaining, it's just not my cup of tea. But desperate times call for desperate measures. So I come before you guys today to share an important story publicly with regards to my channel, to YouTube in general, and more specifically, to Alex Edson of PowerTV and to Scale Lab. I've hesitated for a long time to post a video like this because I know it's not what all my awesome subscribers are here for. You guys are here for animations, and I always try my best to deliver that because you've been so supportive and it's what you deserve. But I really feel at this point that I have no other choice. So please, lend me your ears for just the next few minutes, and let me share some information that both directly affects and greatly harms me, and in a broader sense, touches on problems that impact every YouTube viewer and creator. For those of you who may not know what an MCN is, it stands for Multi-Channel Network. These MCNs are companies independent of YouTube itself, who recruit channels to partner with their network and provide services like advice, access to royalty-free music libraries, brand advertising deals, and more, in exchange for a percentage of the channel's monthly revenue. A lot of MCNs are great and really help channels achieve their goals. But if you're unlucky enough and make the mistake of partnering with one that isn't, it can quickly become a big problem. On May 22nd this year, 2016, I joined the MCN PowerTV, run by Alex Edson and operating under the larger umbrella of the MCN Scale Lab. It was a month-to-month contract, meaning if at any point I felt like things weren't working out, I could give Alex notice and he'd be obligated to release my channel from the network within 30 days. Things were fine at first, and I felt extra comfortable knowing that if something happened, I could always leave within 30 days. Then the fun part came. On August 11th, Alex called me on Skype to discuss signing a new one-year contract. I was very hesitant and insisted that if I were to sign a new contract, it would have to include language detailing a service he had been promising for quite some time. Hiring animators on my behalf, fully paid for by PowerTV, to help grow my channel. The idea was that by increasing my upload schedule to daily, it would grow my channel that much more quickly and the investment would be worth it for him in the end. But after receiving a copy of the new contract, I looked closely and found that it wasn't purely a 12-month contract, but rather a 12-month contract whose term only started from the date of stating intent to leave. Let me clarify that. Only when you actually say that you want to leave the network does the clock actually start ticking, and then you're stuck there for a further year. This is obviously a significant difference, and one that he failed to explain at all himself. But the contract did include a clause assuring me that PowerTV would honor our agreement. They would fully pay for a team of animators, of my choosing, to work directly under me for as long as the contract was in effect, with the goal of getting my channel up to daily uploads, and it would not affect my revenue share of 90% to me and 10% to PowerTV. In return, on top of his standard revenue share, PowerTV would receive a 10% commission in the event that we ever eventually in the future sold my channel. I was still really hesitant, but reassured by Alex, I signed the contract and tried to hold him to it. Shortly thereafter, he told me that in order to ensure his 10% commission upon sale of the company, we would need to sign a participation agreement. He said this required me to incorporate, and after he conferred with his accountant, he instructed me to become an S-Corp. With the help of my CPA, and at my own expense of roughly $500, I completed the process to become an S-Corp, now officially Minute Media Group Incorporated. At the same time, I personally pursued and recruited each of the individual animators who would comprise of the new team who'd be tackling these new daily animations. In the month that followed, Alex continually delayed our official start by a few days at a time, citing legal complications with the participation agreement, and promising only a few more days wait each time. October 4th, Alex called for another Skype voice chat. In the call, he explained that he would not uphold the original agreement, later stating the original deal is dead. He offered the new terms as follows: 25-75 revenue share, as in 75% to PowerTV, until his money from the investment was recouped. After the money was recouped, it would change to 70-30, and still 10% equity in my channel to PowerTV. He further stated that a better revenue share would not be possible because he needed to recoup the $6,000 he spent in legal fees setting up the participation agreement. The extensive fees were a result of him misinforming me that an S-Corp was the proper structure for our deal, when in reality I should have become an LLC. I pointed out that it was his failing. He admitted it was, and stated that he was not asking me to pay for them. I replied that he in fact was, because of the permanently raised revenue share after recoupment as he had just stated, instead of reverting back to the original 90-10. Shocked to say the least, I made it clear to Alex that this was not in keeping with our original agreement. He blamed bad math, while I had personally crunched the numbers with him during our calls, and he fully understood the accurate math at the time. I informed him that I could not accept his revised terms and requested to be released from PowerTV. Then he revised his offer a few more times, ultimately coming to his final offer as follows: 60-40 until recoupment, 90-10 after recoupment, and no equity from my channel goes to PowerTV. I explained to him that after his shady handling of the whole situation, I no longer trusted him, and that because his offer was still not equivalent to what we had both agreed to and signed, I requested to be released from PowerTV within a week. He refused. He said that he would release me on October 6th, 2017. I tried to keep things simple and cordial, but he made clear that he had no intent of admitting his wrongdoing and releasing me. At this point, he found it prudent to remind me that our contract also has a confidentiality clause, telling me that all details of this horrible situation had to remain between us, evidently scared that others would find out what PowerTV is capable of. I admitted that I'm not a lawyer. I have no experience with situations like this. Legal proceedings, fighting over contracts. I'm just one guy, quietly running my YouTube channel, trying to keep the lights on by animating block people. But that if it came down to it, I would take my situation public to plea for help and to expose him for who he really is, because the facts are this. We have a signed contract, in which PowerTV promised to fully pay for my team of daily animators, and as you've seen through our conversations, I only agreed to this ridiculous rolling one-year contract for that purpose. A purpose which he has now refused to honor and declared dead. Now, if that doesn't constitute a breach of contract on his part, I don't know what does. He took my statement of going public if necessary, and immediately and with hostility claimed implied threat and non-disparagement, citing his 2 lawyers if I tried to go any further to protect myself. As if that wasn't enough, the extra interesting part of his disparagement threat was his next move. Alex keeps in touch with most of the PowerTV partners for larger announcements and updates via a Skype group chat. He immediately removed me from this chat, and afterwards gave the following explanation to the group. Hey guys, in case you were wondering about Kevin and why I had to remove him from this group chat, to start, he's not leaving PowerTV, don't worry. I was originally planning on making an investment from PowerTV into his brand to help him do daily videos, but we simply couldn't come to an agreement on the terms of investment. I don't want to get into details. He kind of went a little rogue and started making legal threats if we didn't make the investment, which was like, whoa. So if he messages you, or if you were curious as to why he needed to be removed from here, that's why. Kevin and I are not on bad terms, and he's not leaving PowerTV. Talk about disparagement. Everything I've said about this situation and Alex has been 100% true. Meanwhile, he goes into a meeting of my co-creators and peers and tells them that I'm going rogue and making threats. So here we are. I'm sure you guys have figured out by now that at some point, I'm gonna have to ask you for a bit of help. But before we get to that, let me just quickly bring you up to speed on what I've been doing myself to try to resolve this situation, because I can't possibly expect to ask you for help unless I've exhausted every possible option of how I can do this individually. And at this point, I feel like I've done that. My first step was to reach out to Scale Lab directly, since they are higher on the totem pole, acting as the parent of PowerTV, thinking they'd be shocked by Alex's behavior and be willing to help. October 10th, I contacted the Scale Lab CEO, David Brenner, who, being busy himself, forwarded my message to George Paskalev, the COO, because he wanted to make sure it was dealt with. After divulging all the details of my case, George had answered that, generally, it is not in Scale Lab's policy to keep people locked against their will. This is not how partnerships thrive, and it is not a culture we want to foster in our ecosystem. I'll discuss with Alex today and get back to you. October 19th, I got my final answer, that David and George tried to persuade Alex to release me, but that he was adamant on holding me and there was little else they could do. Second step during the same period was to reach out to YouTube creator support, thinking they certainly must have some authority to intervene. As with Scale Lab, I detailed the whole situation, while highlighting one key detail more relevant to them. Directly on the YouTube Hub webpage, there is a section titled MCN Overview for YouTube Creators. At the bottom of that page, in no uncertain terms, it says, all MCNs are responsible for providing value to their creators by following YouTube's best practices, including avoiding spammy, misleading language to recruit channels to join an MCN, clearly explaining in a contract the services and levels of support provided, acting in an honest and transparent way with respect to services offered and contractual obligations, onboarding and releasing channels in line with their contracts. If an MCN doesn't adhere to these best practices, they may lose account features and monetization. If you believe that an MCN is not following YouTube's policies, contact the creator support team. Which I did, and after 2 weeks of back and forth emails, they gave their final answer that they reported the issue regarding your MCN to our specialists, they're looking into this, and will take the required action against them. Unfortunately, my hands are tied. So, while responsive and courteous throughout the process, Scale Lab and Creator Support were unable to help. Whether Creator Support has indeed taken any required action against PowerTV, I'm unsure, but to the best of my knowledge, at this point, they haven't. The last step I could see was reaching out to lawyers for any help or advice they might provide. Naturally, I went to the pair I think many associate with YouTube and law these days, Ryan Morrison and Michael Lee. They got back to me very quickly and were very kind and helpful. But ultimately, they weren't able to give me the concrete advice or take the required action I need without first putting them on a $1,000 retainer. Which I completely understand, but I was forced to tell them the truth. Just that I really simply can't afford it. I've been working hard for almost 3 years now to grow MMP to what it is, and I'm still overwhelmed and very flattered to have the subscriber base that it has. I've dedicated so much of my time and effort to it that it is my full-time job and source of income. That being said, the amount that it earns doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room. After paying my awesome animators, covering standard living expenses like rent, utilities, food, whether I'm in the black or the red often comes down to whether any videos went viral that month. I'm not trying to turn this into a sob story, but what I am trying to help you understand is this. I honestly can't afford the $1,000 retainer just to get started with Morrison Lee. It could very well cost far more than that in the end. And two, while it might not sound like much, that 10% I have to pay PowerTV each month is really a big deal. Just since signing the second contract back on August 12th, as of today, I've paid PowerTV $1,543. So we come to it at last. What you can do to help. There are unfortunately 2 things that I need to ask of you. Number 1, share this video. Share it as much as possible, and the sooner the better. Another PowerTV partner recently detailed their experience in a video on their channel. But guess what? Because we are PowerTV partners, Alex has the ability to privatize videos without our consent. As you're watching this, if I had to guess, it's only a matter of time until this video is taken down. But as this video is my property, I'm giving you all permission to take it. Download this video, upload it on your channel, monetize it, put it on social media, react to it, make fun of me, draw telestrator mustaches and top hats on me, I don't care. Just please, share it as much as possible. I want this story to reach as many eyes and ears as possible, not only for what I'm about to ask in request number 2, but so that, ideally, we can prevent many others from getting trapped in horrible MCN relationships, warning them to tread lightly with contracts and make sure they know what they're getting themselves into. And number 2, here's the hard part. I need to ask you guys for donations, however small, to help me start this legal process. I've set up a GoFundMe page, and the link is in the description. Now, as I said before, I'm still incredibly humbled to have over 400,000 subscribers. But after doing this for 3 years, I also realize how different videos perform. I know that these vlogs, these fireside chats, typically don't do great, relatively speaking. While my animations can get up in the millions of views, which is crazy, I'm lucky if these get maybe 50 to 100,000. And out of those 100,000, I don't know how many of you can or will actually donate. But if by some miracle you are all feeling extra charitable this festive season, I do want to assure you all of one thing. Not one dime of this campaign goes to anything other than legal fees. And what do I mean by that? Say I only end up needing the initial $1,000, but the GoFundMe campaign raises $10,000 or $100,000. I'm not gonna just pocket the remaining money, so what do we do with it? My ultimate goal is to establish a fund, similar to what H3H3 and Morrison Lee did with the Fair Use Protection account, so that there might be a standing account available to those who need it, as I do now, to combat abusive MCNs. FUPA had a tremendous outpouring of support,
and what they've been able to do to help creators, small and large, to stand up for fair use rights is incredible. But that fund is devoted to fair use cases. And although I have no evidence to support this claim, I would guess that after fair use rights violations, the second most common legal problem plaguing YouTubers are MCN related. So while I'm certainly not as big a channel, or as funny, or downright handsome as Ethan, I can't help but hope that together we can use my difficult situation as a jumping off point to build something great for the YouTube community as they did. So once again, every extra cent donated to this fund, to the MCN Injustice Legal Fund. No? That name's no good? Alright, well, we'll figure out the name later. But regardless, every extra cent donated to this fund that I don't need to separate myself from PowerTV will be set aside for the use of those who also need help resolving their MCN issues. Now bear with me for the grand finale. Like I said at the beginning, I'm typically not one for drama. And what I'm about to say, I could very well be making up just for the sake of making my point. But I'm not. I know that 99% of you don't know me personally. But know this, I'm a very reasonable guy. I tried to compromise. I haven't tried to force Alex to uphold his end of the deal and pay for my animators like we both agreed to and signed. All I ever wanted was to be released from PowerTV so I can move on and be free from the stress. I wanted to find a reasonable end to this, but Alex Edson and others with the power to end this privately refused to, and now it's come to this. It's come to showing that the Minutemen are not the kind of people who you want to back into a corner. But I need your help. Together we can show that YouTube creators are tired of being bullied by MCNs, that they cannot act corruptly and unilaterally, that they need to be held accountable for their actions. Help me with this, and together we can make the YouTube community a better place, closer to what it should be, a creative platform driven by the creators, not a community who can be lied to, taken advantage of, and when their contracts are broken, have zero recourse against MCNs who hold all the power even when they're 100% in the wrong. As a final note, I believe it was the great William Wallace who once said, "All I want for Christmas is freedom."